to the budget debates. It's that time of the year when everybody is looking forward to the numbers, the big message that the budget will have. But every time there is a politics behind the budget. Today we look at the politics of the budget, the political tightrope that Finance Minister Arun Jaitley will be walking when he delivers the budget for 2015-2016. What will be weighing on his mind? Let me introduce my guests who I have with me at this moment. Lord Meghnad Desai, economist, needs no introduction, joining us today in our studios in New Delhi. Also joining us, Omkar Goswami. He's God knows on how many boards of how many companies, Omkar. Have you lost count, or do you still remember?
It's very few. It's very few.
Okay, so he's with us. Omkar Goswami never misses a chance to take a swipe at the government and what a finance minister should be looking for. Also joining us is Dr. Rajiv Kumar. He's from the Center for Policy Research and he's been with us for several budgets, and this time around we'll be looking at his wisdom to take us through the nitty-gritty of the budget as the Finance Minister Arun Jaitley presents the budget. Getting on, gentlemen, with this debate, we'll start with our opening remarks and then we'll go on to that one big idea that Finance Minister Arun Jaitley would be liking to give in this particular budget. And also, will he be looking over his shoulder to what Prime Minister Narendra Modi has already said in several speeches since he's come to the office of the Prime Minister, and the vision that he has for taking India forward as far as the manufacturing sector and the economy are concerned. The political tightrope, dilemmas always there. There's been no finance minister who's walked into, even if it's his first budget, like it will be a first full-fledged budget for Arun Jaitley. It's not without a dilemma. They've just lost the Delhi elections. Bihar elections coming up, could be sooner than October that the Bihar elections are scheduled for. And the Modi government would be looking back to come on the popularity charts, given the fact that they seem to have slipped down just that little bit during the Delhi elections. But at the same time, the economy is never done better than it is doing at this moment. So will Arun Jaitley have that elbow room really to give what he would want to give in this first budget, which will be a vision document for the next 5 years, or will he be compulsorily pinned down to popularity statistics really on what his budget is looked out for? Let me come to you, Lord Meghnad Desai. What do you think will be Arun Jaitley's priority?
Well, I think the difficult thing to judge is whether the Delhi defeat is a big permanent loss of momentum, or you just forget about it and say, we've still got a majority, we've still got 5 years, we're still the boss, and therefore don't panic. Just don't panic and do what you always wanted to do, which is to secure a sustained rate of growth, have policies which have that kind of medium run perspective, and don't do anything in a hurry to win the Bihar elections. That would be my perspective. Don't panic.
But do you think, Omkar Goswami, Arun Jaitley will be able to do that don't panic statement, given the fact that every election has very high stakes?
Hang on. Arun Jaitley will in large measure do according to the signals that Narendra Modi gives him. Let's be very, very clear. If I were having if I were a fly in the wall and hearing a conversation between Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Finance Minister Arun Jaitley, the conversation would run thus. Mr. Modi to Mr. Jaitley, you are in the best possible time. Petroleum prices are down. All other commodity prices are down. You don't need elbow room. Your whole body can go through with this kind of space, okay? So number one, this is the best time to do the things you want to do. What is it that we should be doing? We should be doing things to ensure that this nation grows at least 8% and more employment is created, that this nation can do more manufacturing, that we have better infrastructure, that we have things moving right. So therefore, think of doing all the things you need to do to get growth back on track, because if we can't get growth today with $50 a barrel of oil and a current account deficit which is so much rosier than before, then we'll never get growth. So as Modi, he may not say it in so many words, But I think this is what the signal he would have told his finance minister. And the finance minister also knows he doesn't have a better time. So this is the budget.
So you're
that is
saying
incredible.
the Delhi elections will have absolutely nothing to do with this budget?
If it has consequences towards meaningless populism, or it has consequences even worse towards meaningless fear, then this party is over.
Dr. Rajiv Kumar, do you think it's as black and white as that the party is over, or do you think there will be an overhang of the recent defeat? And given the fact that Delhi is being ruled from Delhi and you lose Delhi right under your nose, will that have a psychological burden on both Narendra Modi and Arun Jaitley's mind?
Well, if any psychological burden at all, then it would be just in the reverse direction of not being populist. Because I think they would have got the message that being populist and doing the rhetoric and 60,000 feet, etc., does not work any longer. So, let me start off by saying that they both know that this is a make or break budget for them. If they don't get it right this time, then there will be a disillusionment, there will be disappointment to the scale that they would never be able to ever look up again. So given that background, and this is the first time, by the way, I have ever seen a prime minister taking a meeting of 12 experts and economists that Mr. Modi did on 6th February at Niti Aayog, where all of us were present there. And he is focused on the budget like a laser at this point, because he knows that. So given in that circumstances, I think you will find that this budget becomes, as it were, a hallmark, a sort of, a budget with a very distinct personality. This government is going to go out and say that we are not tinkering any longer, and you don't want to tinker. We will take the necessary bold steps to set a new direction for this economy, because if they don't differentiate themselves from the previous regimes in this budget, then their case is lost, their cause is lost. And I think to that extent, what they will do is to be bold, and they have a 10-month window between now and the Bihar election, the first 10 clear months window. So they don't have a political compulsion on them at this time. So I think they will be bold, they will be innovative, and you will see a number of announcements which will pleasantly surprise all of us, all towards getting growth off the ground and getting employment off the ground. Very much the employment part in the last bit, to ensure that the public delivery of public services to the poor is also shown to be much improved, and there are specific measures for that, so that it is growth come poverty budget that you will find on February
Growth come
28th.
poverty budget, that's an important point. Let's move on to our section where we'll discuss the one big idea that you'd like to see. Narendra Modi, as the Prime Minister, came out and said that Make in India is his one big idea, one big mission that will take the economy forward. Do you think in this budget there's going to be Make in India as the running theme of the budget which will take it, or do you think there's going to be something even bigger than that that Finance Minister could bring in so as to give the new direction and a new rejuvenation to the party which has just recently lost a big election?
No, I think Make in India is definitely one part of the theme, which is a growth theme, which is a theme that Omkar was talking about, i.e., here is an opportunity to map out a number of initiatives which manufacturing, infrastructure, employment generation has to be done. At the same time, I think on the poverty thing, they have to do something dramatic, like lots of direct cash transfers are going to be introduced instead of all this tinkering around with lots of little subsidy programs. Now, if they can say, we are going to convert all subsidies into direct cash transfer, that will make it more efficient, more transparent, and more redistributive.
But do you think he's in a position to make a major sweeping decision like that all subsidies will be in the form of a direct cash transfer?
But sooner or later, you have to do it. You can do it subsidy by subsidy, which is messy, or you can do it boldly.
And he has laid the basis for that already through the Jan Dhan program.
Yeah.
120 million new accounts.
Yeah.
Now create the institutional organizational basis for you to shift both the food and the fertilizer subsidies to the direct cash transfer. And they've already tried out successfully in 49 districts this scheme with the cooking gas. And all of cooking gas is already coming on board.
So I think what you're going to see is, you've asked a good question. Is it going to be from 0 to 100? No. But it's not going to be from 0 to 5. What you will see, the movement from today, which I'm calling a 0, you will probably see more like 30 or 40 in this budget, because I think they can get away with that, and they should get away with that. And they will have a good case for it, given, as Rajiv said, the experiences of the previous programs and the fact that today there is hardly any political opposition to direct cash transfer. The opposition is only in the mind, it's not there out there.
So
but
politically, you think they're poised for a decision like, completely moving to a cash transfer, for the subsidy schemes rather than going through the very, very painful system of the PDS and all of that?
What's interesting is that like with the bank accounts, they saw a beginning made earlier and they reinforced it and made it much better. Similarly, a little bit of beginning was made with direct cash transfer. Very hesitant under the previous government. They can now go and zap because the preliminary work has been done. And Narendra Modi likes doing things big scale. So he will say, okay, we're just going to do all things direct cash transfer. And that will so completely
And some of them are
simplify.
easy to do. LPG,
But
LPG, for instance, in a state where both Meghnad and I have a house in Goa, LPGs all become direct cash transfer.
Yeah.
Entirely.
Already done it.
It's already done. So you have your Aadhaar card. It is registered with the LPG office. The cylinder comes to you at full price. The credit comes to you to your bank account.
And can you imagine the benefit it brings? All of leakages to the commercial use of cooking gas.
Absolutely.
To going to the halwais and to the restaurants and to the cafes, and just stops. And to the cars and the taxi, it just stops.
So that's one big idea that Lord Meghnad Desai came up with, which is end of all
The other is
subsidies.
Think of the things you need for manufacturing. What do you need? What do you need to have successful manufacturing across many parts of India which have not had it? Remember one thing. Today, even today, India has only 22% of GDP in manufacturing. Okay? It needs to be much more, much more. You need infrastructure. You need highways. You need electricity. You need less number of permits. You need some fiscal incentives. So what you are going to see is a combination of this. You will see, I'd be very surprised if I don't see a much higher allocation on highways, national highways, a much higher allocation on power sector. I would see incentives to set up fiscal incentives in terms of either depreciation or investment allowance. Some of them are not the best economics, but you will see it because he would like to be seen through his finance minister as a person who's doing things to make manufacturing at least possible, even if it were not happening.
So you're saying the big idea is a fillip to the manufacturing sector, whether it's through incentives, whether it's through infrastructure push, but basically investment coming in and the growth story beginning. Lord Meghnad Desai.
As we were saying earlier, watch the railway budget, because this is the first government which will integrate the railway things with the general.
Very good point.
So for infrastructure, for manufacturing, railways are very important. And so what Suresh will do on the railway budget is going to be very closely integrated with what Arun Jaitley does.
So,
Okay. Yes, Dr. Rajiv Mohan, what's your big idea that you would like to see in the budget?
The big idea, the two of them. See, one I think is that the government realizes that the PPP model is broke, and they will not be able to resuscitate it in any good time. So they will be committed to much greater, as Omkar was saying, allocation of public sector funds, government funds toward the building of infrastructure. Now then the question comes is, where is this finance going to come from if they're going to still maintain fiscal prudence and fiscal discipline? So there I think you will find some innovative things being done with what I call idle assets in the economy, like gold. Like government holdings of land and government holdings of other real estate, or government holdings of the share. The idle assets to be converted into active capital. So you will find in this budget some good announcements on the monetization of gold, for example. You will find in this budget some very good announcements about giving seed capital to different organizations, which they can then leverage to create, to mobilize resources from the market for infrastructure. So that's my first. Yeah. The second big idea about Make in India and manufacturing is, I think a lot of work is being done on the DIPP already. And those announcements for much better, much smoother, much more rationalized clearances, licenses, self-certification, single window, all of that will be included in the
budget. So you're looking at the joining of the dots in the Make in
Yes.
India campaign that has been unleashed by the government that we'll see.
And therefore, Navika, this will not be again a statement of government accounts. This will be a big bang budget in the same image as we had with Manmohan Singh's budget or Chidambaram's 97-98 budget. It will be that kind of.
So you're saying this has to be a dream budget where we'll see the big bang announcements. It will not just be an accounting process. We'll slip into a short break, but when we come out, we'll get into the entire workings of the budget, where it will move away from being a statement of account and then become a vision document for what the Narendra Modi government will do in the next 5 years or 4.5 years that it has in its term.